Clic, mao, ça tue, ça blesse, ça flingue. Hey, mao.
Hey, we are back. We are back for another episode of the Bench Mob ENT podcast, the best sports podcast in New Jersey. If you've been following the pod, you have seen this wonderful face on the screen before. Her second time being on the show. None other than Tanya is in the building. How are you doing?
Listen, it is a wonderful time to be alive as a Toronto sports fan. So today, I am great.
Hey, so before we even get to that, because it wasn't on our rundown, but I had to ask because that game one was absolutely that's a way to start a World Series, like 11-4.
Listen,
It's crazy six inning.
I'll say this. First of all, in the hierarchy of sports Tanya watches, it's American football, it's basketball of all genders and multiple leagues, and then it's everything else, right? Baseball is something that I go to live. Like I'm never going to be like, you know what? The Jays are playing. Let me turn them on. Like that's not ever a thing that I've ever said. And of course, like you root for home teams when they're in the postseason, which hasn't been the case for a minute. And so, but watching them these past few series, so against Seattle and against New York, you're like, oh, and of course, every series that they win, you're just like, wait, they could do it. And I think last night, starting a 22-year-old pitcher who I saw a post today, his salary is like 57K versus Shohei's, whose is like 100 and some billion dollars or whatever. And I'm like, first of all, that's not even a living wage in Toronto. Let's start there. But I'm like, for the manager to put the hands of the World Series in someone who is that young, shows like such like that's setting the tone that we are not afraid of you. And there's only two ways this series can go: the Jays win or the Dodgers win. And I feel really good about our chances. I felt okay about our chances going into it, and last night I feel that much better because it would have been really easy to start panicking, down two, and then it wasn't even our big stars who did all the hitting and all the scoring, right? Like it wasn't Vladdy, it wasn't George, and I think that that's what also makes it amazing and us so dangerous is that you can walk Vladdy because you want to avoid him, but Kirk's right behind him. So like don't get it twisted. We've got talent on the team, and it's really exciting to watch.
Hey, I can see it happening. I saw it firsthand. One of my co-hosts is a Yankees fan. Woo, it hurt his heart. It hurt his heart. We had to reschedule the episode that
Oh man.
night. Everything it was not a good time. So I've seen it firsthand over here in the tri-state area.
Mm.
Definitely, we see something that could possibly happen. Like you said, a lot of people didn't have them making it to the World Series, but as the
Plays
playoffs kept going,
that. So makes sense.
as the
I
playoffs, yeah.
people for thinking what they think. The Dodgers, I think they've been either in the World Series or have won it in the past like 10 years, like 8 times or something like that. Don't quote me on that one. I just feel like I saw a visual that said that. But I'm just like, why not us? And, hopefully we win tonight. It would be great to go up 2-0, but I'm not it's the Dodgers. They literally have the a once in a lifetime player. Like, and I know we say that every generation, but like, no, like he is an alien. The same way that Wemby is an alien. Like we have aliens who walk among us and they play sports, guys. And Shohei Ohtani is one of them.
Most definitely, Shohei is really different. So if they pull it off, I think it will go down as one of the biggest upsets because everybody was talking about the Dodgers making it, even though they weren't even one of the top seeds. They like, yeah, well, it's fine. Dodgers get in the playoffs, they'll figure it out. They got enough talent from top to bottom.
Yeah,
They'll figure it out. And here they are in
yeah.
the World Series. They figured it out. And you're right. It may not be that maybe 8, but they've been in the last 10, 15 years. They've been in the World Series, made it, or at least got to the round before. I think it was something like 85, 9% of the last 10 to 15 years.
Like, I understand why we're the underdogs and why no one would pick us. Like, I'm not naive to that. That's sports. But they let they did 4 runs total when they swept the Brewers. We had 6 in 1 inning, 9 in 1 inning. My bad. So I mean, and against like one of their goatiest of pitchers, right? Like they said, "Oh, okay, you guys are going to start with inexperience. We're going to start with one of our top," and it did not go well. So any given Sunday, even on a Friday.
Before we get into the rest of the episode, for those that's watching, we're gonna be talking about some NBA. Obviously, y'all seen the gambling stuff that's been happening. We're gonna talk about the W, of course, and see how that's going. It might be a work stoppage happening. We'll talk about that, of course. We'll mention, of course, without a doubt, we have to talk a little bit about what's going on in the NFL, MVP conversations, the GOAT conversations, and my personal thing that I wanted to ask because I've seen everybody talking about it, and Tanya has been one of the people as the face of it on Threads. Is Formula One racing? I have not gotten into it, but the way that you talk about it makes me want to consider getting into it. So we will talk about that also in this episode. But before we even get to that, sticking with Toronto though, your Raptors are off to a 1-1 start, right?
Yes.
How are you feeling about the Raptors this season? One of my close friends, Jared, on the corner threes, has the Raptors as a team he's predicting to probably sneak into the playoffs that a lot of people aren't picking because you have the Brandon Ingram, the RJ Barrett combination, Scotty Barnes. Those three right there are some pretty solid wings that you have. You
Yeah.
throw a Quickly in the mix. I don't know if he came off the bench the second game, but I saw Grady Dick came off the bench the first game,
Mhm.
had a good game off the bench. How are you feeling about the Raptors this season?
Yeah, I would say probably more hope this season than last season. Last season, I knew was going to it was just a lot. It was a lot. Um, knowing what I know, if you see me on previous episodes, some people might know that that was my place of employment. So when I say a lot, I mean a lot. Um, but I think that they've finally gotten a chance. Like, yeah, they added Ingram, and he's a kind of a new piece to the puzzle. But I feel like finally having like Barnes, Quickly, Grady, and Barrett finally like gelling and on the same kind of page, like kind of like, okay, this is what my place is on this team. I feel really good about it. Last year, I think it was like towards the end of the season, most of our losses were like 7 points or less. Like a lot of them were like one shot and it was done. And so I'm just like, and that of course at the end of the season, that's either playing for playing or going to
Mhm.
Cancun early. So I really see us being like at the very least a play-in team. I think that we could be one of those like sleeper surprises. And I think if we look at the season last year, were people picking the Pacers to be in the finals in September, October? No, they were not. Outside of Indiana, no, right? So I think that is the fun part about the NBA right now is that there is a chance for teams to kind of come out of nowhere and make it, if it's not to the finals, to at least to the semis. And that's what's fun about it. That's what's fun about sports is that truly on any given day. But yeah, I feel good about the energy. I feel good, Darko, our coach, again, everyone is just settled in, right? Like your house is not a home when you first move in. You got to unpack everything. You got to put pictures on the walls, and then you're just like, this is home. I get it. I know where the spoons are. Like, I'm just going with the analogy, guys. Just go with it. So yeah, I think like yeah, I think that we, and just the energy, right? I think that that matters for things. I think that when the fans are like, okay, we're there and we're cheering and we're loud and whatnot, I think that makes a difference. And we've been underdogs before. We were not supposed to win 2019, but we did. So, not saying that we're going to the finals. I'm not that much of a homer, guys. But I can see us being really sneaky and getting into the plan, which I think, just another step by getting us to being a perpetual playoff team the way we were, before we won the ring. Like, we, we stayed in the playoffs. There's a whole generation of children in Toronto that don't know the Raptors as anything else. They're just like, what do you mean we're not in the playoffs? So I think that that's, yeah, so it'd be interesting to see.
Most definitely, one of the teams to be watching for, especially in the East, with the East being somewhat depleted and the bigger names we don't see being there. So there is room and space to get in to that situation of playing. We don't know any other injury is going to happen. Obviously, looking at the bottom half of the teams, I don't trust a Charlotte. I don't trust a Washington. So there's room for Toronto to get in there. They're better than them at least. So at least they should be able to fight to get into that playing, and maybe even higher depending on how the season goes. Very interesting to watch. They have an interesting bunch there,
Mhm.
interesting core. And something else that's been very interesting is to see what ends up happening on the NBA as a global scale, as a product, because we are hearing yet again something involving gambling. We have Jonte Porter, we have Chauncey Billups, we have Terry Rozier, Scary Terry, we have Damon Jones. All of these names are being included in betting gambling scandals with the NBA and other pro leagues. I'm gonna say in bed with them. They're married to ththese gambling
Yep.
companies. Was this just bound to happen? Like Pandora's box is now just completely open?
Yeah, 1000%. I think, like, you can't, first of all, like, obviously, like, allegedly, because I don't want none of the smoke. Allegedly. But I think ultimately, you know, um, it was too much. And I'm like, the NBA is not a startup that was in need of money, right? Broadcast rights alone, and broadcast rights is what makes a league its coins, right? It's not ticket sales, it's these TV deals, which is why there's 17,000 of them now, right? And then there's logos everywhere. There's logos on courts, there's logos on jerseys, everything is sponsored. Like, on top of the rim, like, there's literally, there's not a corner of the court or the game that has not been sold. This need to get in bed with the sports betting and the gambling entities wasn't necessary. And they didn't even go in increments. It went from 0 to 60. And now it's in everything. And, for the people who used to be like, what do we think about the children? I'm just like, but they're watching the game, and there's, parlay breaks, and it's in the apps that they have on their phones. And I'm like, okay, so there just used to be lines. And I think can be said for our general society. There used to be lines we didn't cross, and now there are no lines. And so everyone is just like, it's just like, hoard as much as we possibly can for ourselves, and F the morals, F the ethics, F the values, F the integrity. You cannot talk to me about the integrity of the game when you have a current player, one of the faces of your league, in commercials for sports betting. Like, I don't understand how that's even allowed. And I think, and again, also don't quote me on this one, but also, don't chat GBT it either, is I think that there's a rule here, that we can't have athletes in sports betting ads. So I used to drive by this, this billboard, and it had Austin Matthews, Toronto Maple Leafs, in a sports bet ad. I'm just like, how is that allowed? And then it was either like a provincial rule law or something. They were just like, you can't do that because then like the kids who are looking at it are seeing that and it's like, oh well, Austin Matthews, that's an endorsement, which is obviously the case. So I'm just like, there should have been a way. And I know that Jaylen Brown, he's president of the NBA Players Association. He's like, there was never any conversations with the players and the union about what this all means and how are you going to protect the product, which is the players. And I've said, and I maintain it, I'm just like, one day someone is going to do something bad to a player, and then every league is going to be like, oh, how could this happen? And I'm like, the Cardi B meme, like, what do you mean? How did this happen? You literally have been planting the seeds where, like, society is getting desperate. Your government's been shut down for 30 days. People are about to lose their snap, and you're encouraging just gambling. Now you're getting the NCAA kids into. They don't have any money. They need to buy books. Why do we need to encourage them to gamble? Oh, so all of a sudden they're allowed to make money off their name, image, and likeness, and then you want it back. Like that's not lost on me how close together those are. All of a sudden, the students are making money for themselves off of their own bodies, and then it's just like, we want a piece of that from them in some way, shape, or form. Like I don't understand, and I'm just like, you are going to force desperate people to take desperate actions, and I hope it doesn't happen. I'm not rooting for it to happen, but I'm saying it out loud so that way when it does happen, we September Saturday, October 25th, be like, we had this conversation, right? Like I just don't understand why. And I get that gambling addiction is an addiction, but I'm just like, these are not rookies who are only making 50K, right? Like these are people who should have millions and don't need to do this. Not when there's legal means of doing it readily available and no problems whatsoever. And the thing with Jonte Porter, I'm just like, of course they were going to make an example of him, but he wasn't a big name player. He, rotation, like how many teams did he play for or whatever? He was using Pro Line. And again, like, dummies, why are you betting on yourself? Like it's not even like, oh, like Steph Curry is gonna make 7 threes. Like you guys are making it so blatantly obvious that it's like you want it to get caught. I don't know. I don't I don't know how they fix it. I don't think there is any fixing it. And like you said, it's a marriage. It is really easy to break up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It is really hard to get divorced. And the same way that ESPN was talking about this with a betting sports ticker at the bottom, they can't remove that because contractually they are obligated to give the sponsors what they want, which is the eyeballs, the constant and consistent eyeballs. And I'm like, okay, so, you know, Adam's going to have a tough time. I heard that Congress wants to see him by next week. They're just like, we don't even want this to go into November, homie. And I'm like, all the other leagues better be paying attention because I'm like, it may be the NBA who got caught up now. This is not unique to the NBA at all.
Most definitely, and it's such a slippery slope when you have allowed this. And like you said, it wasn't even a gradual thing. It was 0 to 60, and it's been full blown, on fledged ever since. I mean, even on the aspect of maybe you want to listen to your players a little bit because it's been for at least since gambling has been allowed and they got in beds with them, even before that, but more so once it became legal and this old thing,
Mhm.
your players, the product is saying, "Oh, once a week, there's a fan screaming and threatening my life or threatening my family because I didn't hit their parlay."
Mm,
Like there was no thought process. Like you said, we don't want that, but there was no thought process that, hey, this might actually harm the players because gambling is an addiction. It's not talked about like crack cocaine or
mm,
any of the other addictions that are bigger and more shunned upon, but it's just as bad in instances where people are desperate. I'm betting for Jaylen Brown to hit 6 threes because I need to pay my rent.
Mm,
And this is the quickest way that I can get the 2K that I need.
yeah.
And he only hit 5 threes. And Missoula took him out early.
Mm,
Oh, I'm gonna lose my I'm
yeah.
gonna lose my ever loving mind. And we're
Yeah.
seeing it. And I think it boils down for me across all these leagues. Don't hear as much really in some of the other leagues outside of NBA, NFL, MLB somewhat, but those two mainly, NBA, NFL, it
Mm,
boils down to it just seems greed. Even the WNBA, which falls under the NBA,
hmm.
greed.
Yep.
There was more than
Like,
enough.
this is the part I think that enrages me about living in 2025, because that is what is fueling everything. Is just that we can parse down like racism and like we can talk about all that stuff. I'm just like, everything just boils down to greed, not even just capitalism, greed. Because how much is enough, right? Like, some of these team owners, when they bought their teams, they, it wasn't for what it's valued at right now, right? And so I'm just like, you've made your return on investment. You're a billionaire. You can never spend the amount of money that you are worth. And yet it's still not enough. And I understand from the perspective, because I remember having a conversation with one of my former colleagues when I was at MLSE, and I was just like, he said how much money was lost during the not the lockout, the shutdown, and it was a very large number, a really, really, really large number. And I'm just like, they've been trying to make up for that loss and just over indexed on, sign on the dotted line and F the consequences. And I'm like, but like, I don't know what I mean. Like, I think about Jason Taylor. And for those that may not know, he was a Washington Redskins player. I think he was shot and killed in his own house. Like, people broke in, and I'm just like, that was a long time ago. That was pre pre all this stuff, right? And then you think about Jaylen Brown and how someone broke into his mother's house while his mother was there. And these things are however many years apart, but it's the same thing. I'm just like, we have way more access to where these players live and their families. We know when they're on a plane. We know when they're away. We know what their parents look like. We can Google what their net worth is and who they're married to, and guess where their children go to school. I'm just like, and you think that making desperate people in desperate times more desperate with this access to information is not going to, like, you know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know how it gets resolved, to be wholly honest, because you know what are you gonna have a security guard at every single player's house and every single player's family's house? Like, the NBA is not going to do that. They should, right? Are they going to um, try and figure out how to get people to stay out of these players' DMs? They should, but they're not going to, right? Like, they don't think of the players as their responsibility, which is very funny to me, because I'm like, but without the players, you have no product. You don't have fan bases. You don't have the views and the engagement. You don't have the numbers to go back to the sponsors and say, we had this many people watching and this many people, downloading the app or whatever it is. Like, I just don't understand greed, because I think, like, there should be a point where you say enough is enough, and let's pour into, you want to be a global game, you know, and I know that the NBA has, different things. They've got the African League. Obviously, they have NBA Europe. Same with NFL. They're trying to grow the game, which is why we now have flag football in the Olympics for next summer Olympics. Use your money and, like, grow the game that way, and you can still be this multi-billion-dollar entity that you are. Like, how many more B's do you need? Like, I just don't understand it. And, you know, people will be like, oh, you're being emotional about it. And it's just money and it's capital, and it's a market. And I'm like, okay, but we didn't need it to make the sport better and to make the players better. Like that. And I'm just like, that's the argument at the end of the day, right? And I'm just like, what did this do other than make rich people richer and poor people poorer? Because the people who gamble are not rich. Well, some of them are, obviously. Like Charles Barkley's like, I gambled like 25 million and I only won 12 or something like that. I'm just like, okay, Charles. Like, you know, for them, it's just more about the high. They're chasing that athletic high, right? Especially for the ones who are not playing and used to play. They're just chasing the adrenaline rush of the win. It's not about the money for them, but for the majority of the gamblers who it is about the money for, I don't know, man. Like they didn't need this to be embedded in every aspect of the game. It wasn't necessary.
Most definitely not. Like you said, what point is it enough? Because I love hearing the stories. I mean, he's not the owner anymore, but Mark Cuban and others that purposely like at least once a week, 2 to 3 home games every month. It's $12 to get in for everybody. We're gonna make. I think the Brooklyn Nets changed that, rightfully so, because you ain't got nothing. Nobody's coming to see y'all anyway. But they made certain nights where you could get all the food for a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
That I think is necessary and needed because you don't need it. You taking that loss is not. You're going to make it back up. Correct. On the next 2 nights, regardless.
Exactly.
Even if you made the entire season, all tickets outside of the floor seats are $100. You would be fine. Majority of owners would be fine. Sell out the floor seats, keep it to those that want to spend $15,000 for an hour and a half to watch a game. Cool. Everybody else get in the arena for $100.
Yeah.
But it shows again greed.
Yeah.
Your kid, even if you do not do this, 6 generations from now, y'all are good and y'all still can't spend all the money. 6 generations from now.
Yes. If the earth still exists 6 generations from now at this point.
Yes. At this rate, yeah.
So,
as you said earlier, you mentioned the players are the product that you can now go to all of the TV networks, even the gambling entities. Look at our numbers. Look at how many people watch. You guys should negotiate and give us X amount of dollars, and we could then trickle that down to the players. It seems as if I'm not in the meetings. I'm not there. But as great and as popular the WNBA has become, most viewed game, it's every other game, most viewed game, most sales, most jersey sales. It seems as if the W in the league office and the owners don't feel that the players are their partners.
Yeah. So hold on a second. Oh, fantastic. Love this for me. Toronto tempo. So what is so funny to me is what's so frustrating is when people want to cape for billionaires. I don't understand it. I'm like, they don't know you, and they need you to stay in the 99% so that they can be in the 1%. Rooting for the 1% is not going to get you into the 1%. And so when the conversations about the WNBA take place, when it's just like, oh, well, it's about money and they don't make as much and whatever, I'm just like, okay, but it was the most viewed because it was made easier to view, right? Like ESPN has made the choice to put bowling on ESPN. They've made the choice to put dart throwing on ESPN. They've made the choice to put poker. Those people are not athletes, right? And so one of the things, and especially working at the largest sports entity in the country, the E and MLSE and ESPN stands for entertainment, right? And I think we have to always remember that now it is not about the love of the sport or the game. It is about entertainment, which is why, you've got halftime shows and all these other things, like why they have to make it, you have to be entertained. There's no downtime. You have to entertain people in the downtime, right? Can't let them be bored. You have to keep them engaged. And so when the conversations about the WNBA and how it's not profitable, and how, because they think it's only women who watch, and that there's not enough women who watch. And I'm like, there would be more women to watch if there was a way to watch it. Like, it's not rocket science. Look at how the conversations around the start of the NBA season about how hard it is to find you don't know who, what channel, where, how, you gotta, it's like Tetris, and that's the one league that's got all the billions, right? And so it was only last year, where we had access to watching it on ESPN on a Saturday afternoon. I can choose college football or I can choose a WNBA game, right? They gave me the choice. And now of course I'm going to choose the sport that I've always wanted to watch. I just didn't have access to. And when I was looking at some of the actual numbers, not the sexism numbers, and the males who believe that they have business degrees and have know anything beyond what they might have Googled. um, the WNBA has been given a raw deal for a really long time, and sexism plays a role, racism plays a role. It is a league that, like a lot of the most popular leagues, is like majority black players. um some anti-queerness in there as well. So you have this holy trinity of isms, and now it's getting harder to ignore, because of course there's people who've been saying pay the players for a really long time. They didn't have the platform, no one was paying attention. Stephen A. Smith wasn't talking about it on First Take, they weren't being talked about in Pardon the Interruption, right? Like, they were seen as it's just a pet project of the NBA, and like just to give the girls something to do. um and so, they're learning that that's obviously not been the case, but that's how the NBA has been treating the league. And you know um you know some of the decisions that Kathy has made in the last X amount of years have not been in the best interest of the league that she is the commissioner of. And I don't fault the players if they do decide to just sit back and chill, especially since the big name players, they are literally going to make more money sitting. Right? Paige can sit, Caitlin can sit, Angel can sit, Asia can sit. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of players and growing who could sit, who can go play Unrivaled and be okay. Be like, I mean, okay. This is not going to end the way that I think. And I think with all this gambling controversy of the NBA, I think that gives the WNBA a little bit. I'm just like, they need a PR win. They are going to need a huge PR win and distraction. And I think the WNBA might be a beneficiary of that PR strategy. Their comms team has not slept in 3 days, and they are trying to figure out, how do we get this to not be a topic of conversation every day? How do we not let this be a trending topic for too long on socials? How do we change the narrative? How do we get people to stay engaged with us? A season that just the season is 4 minutes old. Like, some teams are just playing their first home game. Like, this is insane, So I'm really interested to see what happens on that particular front. I'm team pay people what they are worth. And if we can do it for the NCAA kids, we should be able to figure it out for professional basketball players, period. I don't care what the gender is. Yeah, that's my.
Yeah, most definitely, because the thing with it is like I think some people often are getting confused with, and I've realized with being on social now and having a podcast and realizing globally, but specifically in America, a lot of people really lack reading comprehension skills. They lack comprehension, period. And we as a society typically are doing more talking, less listening. We're coming into, we see a take, we see a WNBA player say, hey, we need to get paid more. And our minds are already made up what we're going to say anyway. So you're
Mhm.
not listening, you're not hearing out, you're not getting the facts. You're just like, hey, no, they shouldn't get paid. And it's not even sometimes, again, the listening aspect, because a lot of them aren't saying they want SGA's contract. They're not saying that they want LeBron's contract.
Exactly.
The main issue that they're asking for in regards to finances, because there's a bevy of things:
Right.
player treatment, if you get pregnant, am I going to have a job still? Oh, it's a bevy
Yep.
of things. But specifically on the money aspect, it's the revenue share.
Yep.
9% is a nasty number. 9%. Let's say the league made $1 billion this year. You think 9% of $1 billion spread out through all of the players is enough?
Right.
9%? It's not 9% to one person. If it was just us, yeah, oh, I'd gladly take 9% of $1 billion.
Right.
This is throughout the entire league. There's a salary cap. Each team gets an amount of money. You only can pay this much. Are you willing to pay over that? 9% is not enough.
Yeah. And considering that, this has been growing. Caitlin may have been um, an exploding factor, but it was growing before she joined, right? Like I was seeing more people, rock Liberty and talking about Asia and stuff like that. Like this is not this may just because you're new to it doesn't mean that it's new. I think that that's really one thing, and two is just like there's just too many people who want to gatekeep sports to being solely about the men, and that regardless of what sport it is or in general society, women don't deserve to ever be equal to men. And like you said, the women in the WNBA are not saying they want NBA contracts. That's not the point nor realistic. But why are literal college students able to make more money than these professionals? If you had what if SGA couldn't find a place on an NBA team, has an international person and had to go play in Europe, what does that do for the NBA? It's missing out on a huge talent. So I think it's so key to think about Brittany was not in Russia for fun. She was there to play the game. She's got talent. She wanted to play professionally. She's a professional basketball player, and she went where she was going to be paid to play, right? And Unrivaled gives them an opportunity to play and not have to leave the continent, the country even. And so, I think it's just yeah, I think that there's a lot of people who think they know sports because they have a penis. They think that they understand things about sports because they're a fan and they watch things. Um, they're not, oh, I did my research and no, like ChatGPT is not research, okay? Like, do you talk to people who work in front offices? Do you have connections to any of the people who are actually sitting down and doing math? Are you receiving, when I worked there, every day that there, the day after every game, so a Leafs game, a Raps game, we get an email in terms of like the viewership numbers, what else was on at the same time, all the demographics, like that. This stuff is studied by professionals, and you on Twitter think that you know more than people who actually like live and work and know things, like I think that that's what's so frustrating, and I think that's part of what they've relied upon is the social media narrative that, well, why, look how long it took. um oh, her name escapes me, but I see her face. She was a soccer player for the US women's team. Blondie, blonde hair, short blonde hair, with Sue Bird. Megan?
Megan Rapinoe.
Yes, thank you. Right? Look how long it took them to get what they were worth. And they were doing better than the men. They were winning gold medals. The thing that you're supposed to do. And it still wasn't enough. Didn't they have to go to like Congress? Something? To me, I'm a Canadian. Everything's Congress to me. Like, so I'm just like, this is not new. But you don't get to operate in the same way now when the sponsors are booming, the viewership is booming, the merch sales. Valkyries was sold out, and they're an expansion team, and they got to the playoffs, and they sold out every game. This is technically a Valkyries edition of the Together shirt, right? Tempo dropped. I gave my $100 deposit for season tickets because I'm just like, okay, maybe it's something that I'm going to be able to afford to do, right? I'm a season ticket holder for the team that's going to play down the street from me, right? When it came to Toronto, when they played at where the Raptors played, it was like 19,000. It was at the time the biggest, and then they did another one in some other part of Canada, and then it became the biggest. If it's constantly leveling up and the money isn't, that doesn't follow the business that you are always saying it's about, right? It's not about the business. If I'm doing all my KPIs and deliverables and the money is not coming, wagwan popcorn, like it's just the math does not math. And you know, if everyone else gets to be greedy and everyone else gets to hoard, and they're the ones putting their bodies on the line, I'm just like, men don't have to think about pregnancy and endometriosis and fibroids and breast cancer. I mean, men do get breast cancer, but not in the same rates and instances, of course. But I'm just like, the actual physical realities of being a female professional athlete is tenfold what a man will ever have to go through. You know what I mean? Your cycle. And it is why statistics show as soon as girls hit puberty, they stop playing. Their periods literally stop them from pursuing sports. Then it was also, there was no pathway. You want to play soccer professionally? What? Okay, where? You want to play baseball? You want to play basketball? You want to play hockey? And now these things exist. Now there's a generation of young girls who are like, wait, I can play professional hockey? I can play professional basketball, soccer? And again, we're not going to make messy money. That's not the point. But they're going to be able to play professionally. The same way that my son gets to dream about being a pro player, my daughter should be able to do like my hypothetical daughter should be able to do the same. And I think that's the equality that we're looking for, right? It's not on the numbers level. It's who gets to dream about being a pro. And I want girls and boys to be able to dream about being a pro.
That's the great thing too, because I've seen it, and I'm trying to get some of the people on from these leagues. You have hockey now for women professionally.
Mm-hmm.
You
See,
have
that is y'all, it's
softball.
fun. It is. Listen, I don't know hockey to save my life. Oh wait, that changed. Let's just, so, we're talking about the hockeys. I don't know hockey to save my life. Okay, like I don't know what icing is. I know puck goes in net. I know nothing else outside of it. But I went to a game it was actually New Year's Eve, which was so dope because like everyone's already in a celebratory mood, and I'm just like, I had a blast. Did we win? I don't even remember. But I'm like, give me live sports, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to engage. But what was so beautiful is seeing the young girls who probably do play and their parents who get up at ugly hours in the morning to drive to tournaments 3 times a week and all the food and like hockey is expensive. It is an investment. And now parents and girls can say there is a potential for an ROI. There's a pathway to get a return on all those early mornings and all that hard work. It doesn't just have a hard stop after college. I'm just like, that's a beautiful thing. And seeing boys watch the girls, that is a huge thing that we're also not talking about. My son will watch, he's a hooper. He loves ball, period. Gender does not matter to him. He just wants to watch good basketball. Unrivaled was a serious business in our house. Okay. We were not missing an unrivaled game. Um, he's gonna be my season ticket buddy, when the Tempo start playing next season. So I'm just like, what does it also do for a society when boys are watching girls at their peak, right? They're like, oh, yes, a WNBA player can't dunk, but that does not mean that the game is any less exciting, right? It doesn't mean that they work any less hard to get there. It doesn't mean that they don't have to know how to shoot and how to play defense and all the other things, and that you don't see blocks because you do, right? There's literally just one aspect of the game, an alley oop and a dunk that you don't see in the WNBA. Everything else is the exact same. Sometimes a little bit better. I won't lie. I just want to say, just kind of right. So I love seeing young boys at WNBA games and PWHL games because they are going to be the ones who inherit the earth. And they're just like, no, I grew up watching girls body check a girl into the into the boards, right? Like, and be just as much of a badass as John Tavares and Austin Matthews, right? Like that's what I want. I want, and that's how you build a society that starts to believe that the genders, you know what I mean? There's no weak gender, and that we can be equal on certain playing fields, surfaces, ice, you know.
Most definitely, like you said, it's a society thing, and how we look at it across the board. That we're humans at the end of the day. You just have different body parts. One has a penis, one doesn't, depending on how you're born. Other things, which we're gonna get into those particulars, but regardless to the fact, this life is hard. Period. Whoever you are, whatever you're in, if you're a professional athlete, if you're in the workplace, if you have a corporate job, America, things of
Yeah.
that nature, wherever you're at, it ain't easy for nobody.
Right.
It's not. It's not easy, slim pickings for anybody. So you look at the sports aspect. Yeah, they might not be in a situation of their dunking, but for 1 second to think that there isn't things that they have to face in their field that is difficult, because it's just anybody can just go play in the WNBA. That's what it also gives too. Like anybody can do that.
Right.
That's what it kind of gives when people are so flippant about it. It's like, no,
No.
everybody can't be Kelsey Plum. Everybody can't be Candace Parker.
Correct.
That's not easy. And the other aspect too, for those that are so enamored with the dunking aspect, if you pay attention, and this is why you should watch it regardless,
Right.
there's a good handful of women coming into the league now, next couple of years, and there's a couple in there right now that they're rookies, and the W doesn't, for some reason, really don't. They're old school, and some rookies don't get to play till their second or third year.
Right.
But Duncan is going to come into the W very soon as well.
You think so?
Like I've seen in college already, there's 3 players in college
Like right now?
this right now that
Okay.
use. I think one's on UCLA. One I know is on the Seattle Storm this year, but she didn't really get to play as much.
Okay.
That's a veteran-led team, which makes sense. But
Yeah.
I've seen players overseas that
Okay.
can dunk. I've had a couple people on the show that can dunk. So I think it's just a matter of time. Obviously, it won't be to the extent where we're talking about we're going to have Vince Carter and
Posterizing and
yeah, it's not going to be to that extent. But I think everything evolves over time. Like nobody, absolutely nobody thought we would see a Wemby 20 years ago. Nobody.
can we talk about Wemby? Because No, but like seriously, like that clip where he got, I think, 2 blocks on one shot or something ridiculous, and then dribbled down the court. I'm just like, sir, you're not a point guard. And then shot a three and got the foul. Sir, what? What? Like that's very Shohei Ohtani getting 3 home runs and striking out 13 people in the same game. Like I just again, aliens. Because and what's so funny about this is a couple of things. One, and we talked about it and we touched on it in terms of like the global aspect. Um, I think they said they haven't had an American NBA MVP since James Harden. And I'm like, the game is global. And it always has been. But again, we just didn't have socials and the connectivity that we have today. And I'm just like, Wemby took the season to bulk up, chill with some monks, train with some goats. I think he was training with KG. And I'm like, that is a very dangerous human being. Like, what do you mean he's gotten better? Like, I don't what? He's how what? Because how tall is he? He's
7'6" is ridiculous.
First of all, I'm a mom. Shout out to his parents. Okay. We don't shout out the parents enough, man. We go through a lot. My son has just started playing rep, and it's just like I had to miss game 1 of the World Series because he had basketball practice all the time. It's a lot of late nights and early Saturday mornings. Shout out to the parents, because where are you finding shoes for someone who is 7'6"? How much groceries are you procuring? Okay. If no one has told you, parents, shout out to y'all. You are the true MVPs. We are the chauffeurs and the accountants. And sometimes the nurses. I had to wrap my kid's ankle the other day. He twisted it in practice. I'm just like, we do a lot because, sir, why are you 7'6"? Like, I feel like that would be, if I ever met him in person, I'd be like, but like, why are you? I'm confused. Because like, what? And for him to, and what I love is the stories of what he did in the offseason to get better, right? And as someone who has a you know, a pro, has got pro dreams, I'm just like, they still do he made it into the league. He's one of the faces, a future face, and he still put in work in the offseason. Everyone can always put in the work. And yeah, Wemby is just, I just watched the highlights and I was just like, I don't, he's not playing fair.
My wife watched him for the first time last night, and the statement was "baby Goliath," because it doesn't make any sense, and I think it's dope again of how everything evolves and how people that are actually students of the game.
Mm,
When I think of Wemby, I think of Yao Ming, in regards of Yao Ming had to stop his career earlier because your body at 7'5", 6'7" really should not be in an 82 game season, not
correct.
including playoffs, running up and down a court.
Yeah.
His parents, his support team said, you know what? You are that tall. We're going to change it up completely differently. You're going to be slimmer. We're going to have you doing all these different stretches and unique this and
Yep.
turn your body this way. And this is how you warm up this way to ensure that you can actually play this game that you love.
Yeah.
And like you said, first thing you mentioned appearance too. His mom. What was his starting weight and height coming out of his mom?
That's what,
I can't imagine that pregnancy. Like my wife did both of our kids with no drugs. And I'm like, you are one of the strongest people in the world. I don't know if I would even attempt to do something like that. And they were pretty, 8 pounds. What was
it's not about
Wemby?
his weight. It's what was his
God,
length when
the
he came
length of it.
out, right? And even if he was even if he wasn't even if he was average weight when he came out, like I would love to see. I can't wait for the future, Doc. Listen, I'm team Netflix sports. Okay, Netflix is going to give me a sports doc. I'm going to watch it. Like I've watched Mumbai cricket Indian team starting five. something about football, something about soccer. I'm gonna watch it. Just know. And I'm like, what was his puberty stage like? Because you go from, oh wow, he was like I look at my son who he's 13, so he's going through his growth spurt, and I'm like, when we moved into this place, he was a child, and it was fine. And now like he's taller than me, and he's got a deeper voice, and he's in an 11 shoe, and I'm like, you're 13. This is only the beginning. So I can only imagine every single time they looked at their son, they were just like, why are you 1 foot taller? Like, I'm very
Come out the womb extremely tall.
this tall, but
Talking about the
not just
push.
and not taking his height for granted. I think that that's the part too. Like obviously it's an advantage, but if he was not talented and focused on getting better, it would be a waste of height. You're right. Like it would just be like, oh, I'm just gonna block shots and pass it to my point guard. I'm just like, my man ran the court, shot a three, and I'm just like, you're not Steph Curry. What is happening here? Right? It's a scary human being. So I mean, we got on this because we're just like the game does evolve. Because humans are evolving, right? Point guards used to be, and I think I said this on a previous episode. I'm like, I miss true point guards. I miss being able to look on the court and be like, oh, that's the point guard. If I know nothing else, I know who PG is. And I'm just like, I don't know that anymore because I'm just like, what do you mean the point guard looks like a forward? I'm confusion, right? But that's the game evolving. All there's, yeah, you still have centers, but like the centers move like, you know what I mean? Like it's everyone is a lot more agile and flexible and has way more capabilities and skills. Like everyone can steal, everyone can block, everyone can get everything. Like it's insane and what makes the sport really exciting. But yeah, and the NBA is not the only one that's going on with, right? Like it's but it's really interesting. And the future is friendly. When we look at something like Unrivaled, um and what it did and how it energized the fan base, and how their socials, like 10 out of 10 no notes there. I love them on socials, how they engage, get new folks to like affiliations and like pick a team, and then the chatter in between the teams. And the fact that they use threads really heavily and so early on in their inceptions. I'm biased, but I think that that's so smart because Twitter is not a safe place for for women, for women's basketball fans, for women basketball players. And not to say that Threads is perfect, it isn't, but like it's a really smart play in growing the fan base and getting people excited on a platform where it's a little safer to be a fan. Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see. And I know that there's another one coming up, Project B. I don't know if that's the final name, but I hope not because that's terrible. And it's basically Unrivaled, but make it Dubai. And yeah, again, that's not for giving more women opportunities because they're going to want to go after the big names, right? They're going to want Caitlyn, they're going to want Angel, they're going to want people who are already committed to something else. So this is about diluting and taking from a women-owned, women-led, women-driven entity like Unrivaled, but just dangling big carrots in front of them. And I'm just like, I don't see it being successful. I think the ones who are maybe on their way out in the WNBA, and want to secure generational bags will go. I don't think it's gonna be like the PGA live golf thing where they're gonna get really big names to go that will attract. I think they're just gonna get a lot of rookies who again are about securing generational bags, or veterans who are kind of like on their way out in the WNBA, especially if the roster spots don't expand in the WNBA, right? Like there's like 16 spots. I'm just like, that's dumb. We need a few more players. You have a whole draft, and then like 1/5 of the draft can't even stay in the league because there's no spots. Who came up with the system? Like, so
Every year.
it's the Project B thing really annoys me because again, it just goes back to what I was ranting about before, which is that's just greed. And there's there's three entities in the world that have all the money: tech, the gambling, and the Middle East. Right? And you see what the consequences of taking money from those three entities are. I'm not going to moralize it because North America is no better. But there is something to be said for the commonalities between those three entities overall and what they're doing, not only just to general society, but to the sports that we all love.
I believe it was Belani Jones, Amin Al Hassan that talked about this probably 5, 6 years ago when we saw the live golf stuff and we saw they said it's something coming down the pipeline. It's gonna be some sports washing. It's gonna be some changes to sports as we know it because the money they're throwing out, there are some people that's gonna say, forget the morals of it,
Yeah.
which in some cases, I'm not knocking anybody. Some people need that money, especially when we talk about the W specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Alyssa Pilly, for example. Why did I get drafted? Why did I enter my name into the draft? I have no roster spot now.
Right.
They talk about 25 million, which I'll never see in the W anyway.
Right.
25 million? Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to be over there. They know what they're doing and doing that across all sports. That's why they're trying to get into. They did golf,
Yep.
baseball, football, soccer. Hey, Messi, you want to come over here? Ronaldo, you want
So
some of this?
$1 billion, like, growing up a sports fan and like, when we saw these numbers creep up, and like these numbers just used to be so unfathomable, right? Like $1 billion. There's countries that don't even have a GDP of $1 billion, and one human being is getting paid $1 billion. And for me, I'm just like, okay, you guys say it's business or whatever. What's the ROI on that? Like, do you get back $1 billion in ticket sales and merch sales and do the sponsors get enough eyeballs to justify the $1 billion? Because that's just one player, and there's more than one player on a soccer pitch. So it's just very weird to me. Like it's just it's cartoonish money. It used to be like when we were kids, like we couldn't think of a number that big. We're like $1 kajillion, and like that's basically what it is now. Like it doesn't. It feels very Donald Duck, Scrooge McDuck, like jumping into the the swimming pool of coins. Like it's just so cartoonish the levels that they're able to just throw out there. And again, like you said, for a woman who, if she gets pregnant, that's 9 months, or she can play throughout pregnancy depending on her pregnancy. But like then post, does someone have to go back to work because they have bills to pay, or do they just go cross an ocean and be like, I can hire a nanny, I can have the best care. Like I'm not going to fault an individual when it's the systems that we should be mad at. I think that that's what all of this also boils down to. We're constantly, oh, the players are greedy and this, that, the other, and caping for owners. I'm just like, it's the systems that we need to be pointing the finger at. I'm not going to, you want to look at the comedians that just did the festival in, I think it was Abu Dhabi, but don't quote me on that one. I'm just like, and those are not people who are hurting for dollars. Those are not people who are trying to secure generational bags to take care of their aging parents. They already had that. They didn't need to do it. They wanted to do it. Those people, I'm a clown, and that's fine. But for the WNBA players for the NCAA players who got drafted and don't have a roster spot and want to play and can play, even if it's 2 million, you can retire your parents, maybe finish paying off their mortgage. Like, I'm not going to fault anyone, because at the end of the day, we're all hypocrites, right? Like, to kind of go back full circle, as I said, I don't pay attention to baseball until I need to pay attention to baseball, which is right now. So I had heard about the Astros and the cheating scandal. I'm just like, okay, it's Houston. I don't live there. It doesn't, sure. And it wasn't until the conversations, of course, when we get into it and the conversations about George Springer, and be like, oh, you have a cheater on your team, and da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, first of all, I didn't even know that. So, sure. And now that I do know that, my answer is, and yes, I am a hypocrite. The same way that every sports fan would be a hypocrite. Because if he was on your team and your team was in the playoffs, you would be cheering for your team. You may be like, I'm cheering for everybody but him. Okay, it's a team sport. It's not an individual sport, right? And so I think ultimately, to go back to this whole thing with this sports and Project B or whatever it is, I'm just like, everyone is going to be a hypocrite. Everyone sacrifices their morals and values for their own comfort and convenience every day, because we wouldn't still all be on social media owned by Meta. We all wouldn't be still shopping at Amazon. We all, like, the list is really long, y'all.
Very long.
Real long. You own a house? No, you don't. That land was stolen by indigenous people. How far back do you want to go? We can talk about it. Okay, the wealth that was built on the backs of Black people who were brought over here in chains. Like, we can talk about it if we want to talk about it. And how it all ties together is, at the end of the day, people are going to make the decisions that they need to make for themselves and for their family, whether it's rooted in morals and ethics or not. And people's just like, but it's just sports. You shouldn't. But I'm just like, sports is still a microcosm of general society. It's not this whole separate entity that has no impact on anything else. It is a multi-trillion-dollar industry globally. It is a unifier. There's a lot of politics involved, hence Olympics and FIFA, right? Like, this is not just like this is a little entity over here that the only people who are knowing about it and interested work in it and whatever. No. It's not at all. And so, thinking through about the hockey players who were acquitted of sexual assault, and one, I think, was just signed to Vegas, the Vegas NHL team. Okay, when you guys decide that you're going to have a women's night, because all the leagues do, you women are going to be able to say, well, so there is morals and ethics that do bleed into sports, and people are going to make the decisions that they feel that they need to make. I'm going to cheer for the Toronto Blue Jays, because before social media told me that I had a cheater on my team, I was just going to be cheering for the Toronto Blue Jays, and I'm still going to be cheering for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I'm going to have a conversation with my son about the consequences and how some people get to fail upwards, because we're not talking about homeboy who played for the Red Sox, who is currently on the Dodgers team. There's a lot of smoke for Springer, but not Mookie Betts. I'm just saying. Conversation is real quiet on that front, but real loud on the other front. What does that mean, right? This is a great media literacy and sports literacy conversation that I get to have with my 13-year-old sports fan in my house.
It's funny because when my co-host Greg or when I mention something with race or politics with sports, consistently, without a doubt, I would be a billionaire if I could put money on how many comments would be the same exact comment of why you gotta mention race, why you gotta bring up this. There's no way in the world that you can't bring up these topics oftentimes, because it intertwines. Perfect example. They're saying that Chauncey Billups wasn't the face of it. This had to deal with the mafia. The mafia coerced him. We have not seen a picture of anybody in the mafia the people that are supposed to be the masterminds of it are not on the news. They're not photos. They're not being pictured arrested. They're not being videos. This is mafia member leaving the courtroom today. We don't see that. But according to some people, don't you mention that now with sports. That's something completely different. It's obvious.
When Harrison Butker can wear a MAGA hat, but then Colin can't kneel, right? They tell LeBron to shut up and dribble. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just very funny how as I said, everyone is a hypocrite to varying levels and degrees. And, you know, I'm sure there's going to be folks who watch/listen to this episode and are just like, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about, or whatever. I'm self-victimizing as a woman or self-victimizing as a Black person or whatever it is. I'm just like, okay. I'm just like, unlike a lot of the audience, I've actually worked in this place. So I get to talk a lot of shit about sports. The end. Have you had a conversation with the president of a Toronto, of a major hockey team? Have you literally been in meetings with a whole league about their all-star? Have you had conversations about why I couldn't put a player's face on a digital asset that I was creating? Like, I feel like you gotta let me cook on some things, guys, because I kind of know what I'm talking about a little wee bit on certain things. And I'm like, sports is not a silo. And, you know, if it was just about the game and it was just about the sport and paying people what they were worth, then I wouldn't be here. Well, I'd still probably be here. But, like, you know what I mean? We'd be having very different conversations. But why are people not being paid what they're worth has to do with their gender? That's politics. Adam Silver has to go before Congress. That's literally the definition of politics. Like, that's politicians saying, you need to come talk to me about what's going on in your league. The National Football League is technically a nonprofit organization, and there's a reason why there's flyovers and giant flags and military things, because they get money from the federal US government Department of Defense. Don't tell me there's no politics in sports. Otherwise, we don't need national anthems. What? Why do we need national anthems for? That doesn't make any sense. It's two nations. In this particular case, in the World Series, right? Like, it's not necessary. I got to stand and pledge allegiance to a country. I'm just like, when be some France? Are you going to play the France national anthem? No. Right? Like, so don't say that there's no politics in sports. There's always been politics in sports. It's just now we are getting better with connecting the dots and calling it out. And people have mics, and people have their Instagram and their socials, and people have voices. And the people who have always been talking about this are now just getting amplified and have people behind them to say, you are right. We're with you. How do you make change? You know, and so, yeah, the people can comment all they want, but I'm just like, at the end of the day, I'm just like, I've been paid to be in these places that you pay to be in. So talk to me nice or don't talk to me at all.
I was about to say that's a bar. That's a bar. All right, before we end up the show and I ask my selfish questions regarding Formula One, I am going to, as you just said, ever so beautifully, let you cook. You hit me up, maybe that's now 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, about the GOAT conversation and why it's muddled, and what you have been seeing so far from this up and down NFL season.
Oh, man. Oh, wait. I have a hoodie. I actually don't have any NFL hats. I got to fix that. Okay. So, because I don't even know how long this is supposed to be. My bad. If it was supposed to be like an hour, we'll be all right. Good. Okay. So, the NFL. But more, let's go vague or let's go general to the GOAT conversation, and then we'll go NFL, and then we'll do F1. I had an aha moment, and yes, I slid into your DMs. I'm just like, we need to talk about this aha moment that I had. So thank you very much for letting me yell at you in your own DMs. And I realize, when we talk about, let's say we're going to do NBA as an example, the GOAT conversation. And it's just like, well, who's the GOAT? Is it Michael? Is it Bron? Is it MJ? And, oh, well, he can't be because he's got less rings and this, that, the other. And it actually ties back to what we started talking about earlier in this conversation. We are now so fantasy football gambling driven that individual stats matter more than team stats. Because now to flip to the NFL, I don't understand how Jalen Hurts is consistently disrespected. And my man was 3 points away from being a 2-time Super Bowl champion in the last 5 years. Okay. It is hard to get to the Super Bowl in the National Football League. It's hard to get there multiple times. And he's been, and he lost one and he won one. And yet it's still, oh, he doesn't throw enough, or his stats aren't this and that, the other. And I'm like, I don't care. The team practices in 90-degree weather, and they travel and they play through pain to get the ring at the end of the season. The individual stats don't mean anything if you don't win. If Saquon Barkley demolishes all these rushing titles and stuff like that, but they don't win the Super Bowl, the whole season would have been for naught. I don't care. But because of fantasy teams and needing these players to do these things, and we're so hyper focused on, well, how many yards and how many yards after the catch and how many runs and how many sacks and how many block punts and how many missed field goals. Like, we're so focused on the hyper individual stats for our own entertainment and maybe ability to pay some bills that we've lost the plot completely. Because I'm just like, Cam, I don't know why you're talking about someone who's done something that you did not do. Like, I don't. Why are we? Why are we? Right? And so I think that I want us to get back to being about, it's a team sport, right? Here in Toronto, we had a pitcher. He didn't have a good game. We lost. People lost their everlasting shit. I'm just like, the last I checked, he does not go to bat. He is not responsible for running people, and he does not abandon runners on base. He's one part of a team sport. As long as it's a team sport, the team goal is to win the team championship. Period. Full stop. Any other conversation about who's the GOAT and who's whatever, and it's based off of how many rings and how many stats and your better stats and this, that, the other, I'm just like, no, I don't entertain it, because it doesn't matter. Because when Cam says he something about like an MVP of the league versus a Super Bowl ring, and I'm just like, that is the biggest, fattest lie ever said. And like, I don't even know why you're saying it, because no one believes that, least of all you, right? I want us to get back to stop losing the plot. And maybe it's because I don't understand fantasy teams, whatever. When I worked at MLSC, we weren't allowed to play them, which also goes back to this whole gambling thing. I'm just like, I wasn't even allowed to join fantasy teams as an employee. Why are you gambling on your... It's so dumb. Anyways. And I don't know what a parlay is. I don't know what the minus numbers mean, the pluses. I don't know it. I don't want to. It doesn't make me turn on the television and watch the sports. It doesn't make me sit in a bar stressed among a whole bunch of strangers because I'm willing this player to hit the ball out of the park. That would not make the game more enjoyable for me. And so, yeah, that's the reason why we have GOAT arguments. Because I'm just like, whatever your Mount Rushmore of NBA players, it's not about necessarily rings and stats. What it is about era. And we need to stop comparing eras. right? The Wilt era and the Kareem era and the Magic and Larry and MJ era is not the LeBron and Kobe era, which is not the SGA and Ant and Wemby era. These are different eras. We can't just be like the top 5 players ever. It's got to be a decade, era, whatever you want to label it as. NFL is a little bit easier because, like, the Patriots, of course, they're one of the goatiest teams. They had actual dynasties. So did Dallas back in the day. So did the Steelers back in the day, right? Like the Ravens back in the day. You can have that conversation, but that's still team. Because Ray Lewis did not throw a touchdown, nor did he catch one. He stopped the other team from doing it, but at the end of the day, the Ravens won as a team and they lost as a team. So this GOAT conversation, we need to kill it once and for all. Please and thank you. Amen. As for the NFL, it's been a hard season as an Eagles fan. And I say that only because, of course, like when you're the defending champs, like of course the everything is heightened, right? Like you are now who all the other teams are hunting. And it hasn't been pretty. Some The team is 5-2, but it could really easily be 1-6. They've been ugly wins. I've been very loud about that, guys. I'm a very realistic fan. They've been ugly wins. They're still wins, but they're ugly. And there's work to do. But when you lose 11 players, when you lose yet another OC, there's going to be a learning curve, but the season is short. And so the leash is so short. Everyone is so impatient in an 18-week season, right? NBA has 82 games. You can lose 10 games and it's not going to kill your chances at making the playoffs, depending on when that losing streak happens, right? Jays were last place and had some ugly periods of time, and now they're in the World Series. So the longer your season, the more grace I think is given. But NFL fans and the pundits are just so impatient. And I understand it, right? Once you get, to whatever, I'm not good at math. But once you get 1/3 of the way in, right? Like 2 months later, you're like, oh, well, the season's half gone. You're like, oh, snap. Like you don't have a lot of turnaround time. Plus you have a bye. So I get it, but I think ultimately, don't we want to see who, if the Eagles can fight through all of that, don't we want to see who's if the Chiefs bounce back from being beat down in the Super Bowl? It's great. It was beautiful. It was such a beautiful thing, right? Don't we want to see who might challenge? Okay, so the Ravens are not doing so well. Is it going to be the Bills' turn to step up? Right? The Colts are arguably, to me, right now, the best team in the NFL. Are we going to see the Colts and the Bills and the Chiefs battle it out in the AFC? Right? Like, the reason why I love sports is because it's a story being written in real time. No one knows the ending, as much as we like to believe that there's a conspiracy and whatever. Let's just go with that. No one knows the ending. We don't even know what the story is. We just know that there's going to be an end. A team is going to win. And I love that. That is the best and most stressful, but best part about sports. And so I think ultimately, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. I'm really keeping a close eye on the AFC this year, and I'm I'm an NFC girly. Like I don't watch NFL on CBS. Like that's when I take my afternoon nap, guys. But I'm very, very interested to see what happens, if there's going to be a changing of the guard on the AFC side, if the Ravens can come back, from a poor start. It's really, really interesting to see. I'm very excited, and I'm also happy that we're atop the NFC East because, frankly, that's where we're supposed to be.
It's definitely it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. Like you said, uh, as one of my other co-hosts, Greg, as a Giants fan, it hurts seeing Daniel Jones playing how he's playing with the Indianapolis Colts. Definitely one of the great storylines. And I had Doc Thompson on, and we were saying the same thing of appreciating the players, the sport that we're seeing, because literally, like you just said, it's history happening in real time, and we don't always like 15, 20 years from now, somebody's going to be talking about the season that Daniel Jones had this year.
Right.
They're going to be talking about, did you see that play that Wemby did? 15, 20 years from now, and we are in it though right now.
Yeah.
And I think as a society, and this is bigger than sports, in general, we don't appreciate that moment. We don't understand sometimes being in the moment enough.
Yeah.
It's already thinking of the next thing. Wow, he had 40 points this game. Imagine what he's gonna do in the next game.
Yeah.
Oh, Daniel Jones did this. Imagine what they're gonna do. Are they a dynasty loading up?
Right.
It's that conversation always that's happening. And in regards to your Eagles, we just were talking about is like, hey, they are still figuring some things out, obviously.
Yeah.
With this OC, but they are 5-2. I think anybody in the world, which I heard Gilly was arguing back in camp saying that, was like, hey, yeah, they're not the best offense in the world, but they're 5-2. I would love in any other aspect in life be still trying to figure something out, and I'm 5-2.
And I'm at the top of the division, right? Like, I want to be going into the bye, or into the playoffs in an ideal world where I'm just like, all right, I'm a division winner and we're good, yeah, I it's a really interesting thing to me. And what you said about in terms of like, we don't live in the now. We're always just like, okay, well, what's next and what's happening next? And I think we just need to let the game breathe. And it's funny because I've never watched this much baseball in like clearly 32 years. And I was 12 or 13 at the time. But I'm just like, there's something about the slow pace of baseball. You have to wait for it to come to you. You have to wait for them to hit the ball or get a base hit or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the constant that basketball is. And yeah, there's pauses and people say NFL is boring, but I don't see it. Even when it's low scoring, to me it's not boring. But like, there's something about just letting the game breathe. And I want us to get back to just enjoying the game for what it is. Not all the E part, the extras, the entertainment, the engagement, just sports. That's it.
Most definitely. And it's talking about enjoying sports. To end off our show, you have been one of, and again, I will sing it to the mountaintops, threads, 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 threads. Of course, biased. I feel NBA and WNBA threads is the best groups on there. But you are a part of a group that is one that is growing. And I'm on the outside looking in. I'm on the outside of the house with the door locked, can't get in. You guys are willing to open the door, but I'm just peeking like, what they got going on over there? What is it about Formula One? When did
Oh
the
my
love start? Why do you like it? What is it about the sport that excites you, that you love a Formula One race?
Okay, first of all, you're gonna have to split this episode into two parts because it's real long. So as I mentioned earlier, I am a sports doc junkie. Okay, Netflix sports. If you listen, please, I beg of you, just hire me. I will just run coffee. I don't even care what I'm doing. They do sports docs really, really well, and
Yes.
so came across Drive to Survive. Knew very little. I knew there was a black racer. I was just like, all right, well, let me sit down and watch. Yes. Is it dramatic? Yes. Is it dramatized? Yes. Like, let's just skip all of the things that we know from the F1 purists and the F1 fans of the 80s and 90s and the Michael Schumacher days. Like, guys, I understand that it is a documentary that is dramatized for the sake of Netflix. Okay? As you've heard, I know a little bit about multiple sports. And knowing that ESPN was not going to renew the rights to F1, Drive to Survive on Netflix was really important. And knowing that Netflix is trying to get into more sports, as we've seen with WWE, as we've seen with the NFL, this was their kind of like, hey, let's dance, let's date, let's see let's see if there could be a match here, right? This was them trying to play the long game. They ended up with Apple. I think it's a mistake, but we'll get there when I get there. Anyway, so watch Drive to Survive. And for me, one, I was just like, how are these people athletes? They drive a car, right? That was my outsider perspective. I'm just like, I'm a girl. I've watched football and basketball, boxing, baseball all my life. So I'm just like, how are you an athlete if you're just driving around in circles? First of all, F1 is not circles. So like there was a lot of learning that I got out of that documentary, right? There's only 20 drivers, and there's 2 per team, and you have a team goal and an individual goal, which is the messiest thing in all of sports. It makes no sense to me. Okay, can you imagine if the Lakers wanted to win a championship, but then Luka and LeBron were competing against each other for an individual championship on the same team? Does that make any sense? No, it does not. But that is F1. And I'm just like, you guys are so messy. This is the messiest of mess. So you have the Constructors Championship, which is the team. There's a lot of money when you win and where you place. And then there's the World Champion, the individual one. Lewis Hamilton, he is 7-time asterisk. Some people say 8, some people say 6, whatevs. 7 in the books. The goatiest, one of the goats. Okay, he's one away from literally being the winningest F1 driver in history. He was with Mercedes. He moved to Ferrari, which is why I moved to Ferrari. In my particular case, I follow a driver. I don't follow a team, because Ferrari is, listen, they're lucky that baseball is my distraction, because this team this season it's been very frustrating. But what's fun about it, so F1 Threads is it's large, it's thriving, it's vibrant. It reminds me a lot about NBA Threads as well. They have a chief welcoming officer, which I think is adorable. They have other ways of engaging with each other with their P10, and just learning. And they're so willing to teach. Again, there's the purists who are just like, oh, you're a Drive to Survive fan. I'm just like, and? Did I take money from your pocket by being so? Like, I'm here. I'm waking up sometimes at 9 o'clock in the morning to watch a race. Sometimes it's 3 o'clock, because, of course, they race around the world. So sometimes these things are like 3 o'clock in the morning because they're in China. And I'm like, oh, that's a commitment, right? So it's really, and some tracks are more exciting than others because there's more opportunity for overtakes. Monaco, yes, it's one of the oldest and the grandest of races, but because it's so narrow and it's a street circuit, there's not a lot of overtaking. So the actual Sunday race is not what's important. It's Saturday qualifying. And when you see them driving at these crazy speeds and they're like this many away from the wall, I'm like, it's exciting, and it's stressful and exciting. So yeah, I think it's just a lot of fun. I haven't been watching as much this season as I was last season, and engaging, but I think that having spaces to engage with people who are fans all over the world, whether it's of the team or of the player or of an era or whatever it is, I think that that's what makes sports fun. I think when it goes too far and then it has to be monetized and capitalism and greed gets involved, then that's what makes it less fun. And I don't really see I don't really see gambling in the F1 space. Like, I don't see like sports betting with Lewis Hamilton, like you know what I mean? Like that would be crazy. But yeah, so I think that it's still, again, even though the purists hate it and the cars are too big and there's too much politics and there's too much black people, and I'm like, there's one. So I'm confused by that. But I think that it's still a very pure sport, because it is man willing machine to do everything, and they both have to do it together. And watching Drive to Survive made me realize, like, they really are athletes, right? Like, I didn't think about when they're driving and they're going this way that you have to work and your neck has to stay this way when you're like, like, it was a lot, and your reflexes. There's a lot of similarities to the other major sports, but I understand why it's also niche, right? Like, it's there's only so many races in a season. they're sitting in a, you don't get to really see them because of course they're sitting in a car and their faces are covered. It's not a sport that anyone can just get into. Go-karting is not necessarily, you know, it's not like picking up a ball in Brazil or in Bali, right? Like you have to have obviously money. It is a very moneyed sport. You have to have money to get into it and to stay in it. So I understand why it's niche. Why I say that it was. I don't think the Apple partnership is going to be. I think it should have gone to Netflix because Netflix is a true global streamer, right? Americans don't know that Hulu is not available anywhere outside of Hulu of America. I'm Canada and I can't get Hulu. It's got to be licensed by a Canadian streamer to show me a Hulu show, right? Netflix is everywhere. They have offices everywhere and they are truly global. And F1 is a global sport and a global series. Um, I the reason why I say I don't know about Apple is because when MLS, Major League Soccer, became a property of Apple, I don't know what that did for MLS. Did that grow the game? I doubt it. And because most people are like, if I don't have an Apple device, are they going to subscribe to Apple TV? Do they even know they can subscribe to Apple TV? And will they want to? Right? The Android versus Apple beef is bigger than Drake
Real.
and Kendrick. So like ultimately you're alienating people who don't want anything to do with Apple or don't have devices. And then you're making them pay for something that they might have been able to see on our local channel. So I'm just like, what did that do for MLS? So it's interesting. What they did was F1 TV is going to go away and it's going to be embedded in Apple. So you don't have to pay more separately. I'm not quite sure, but I'm just going to be interested to see how it goes because while Apple is a global brand, not for watching things, Apple is a global brand for buying devices, right? And I know that they were trying to, of course, have one movie and they did a lot towards that, but it's going to be really interesting to see the season. We're coming to the end of it. It's there was a clear favorite and now there's some maneuverings and homeboy Max he was like 100 points behind, now he's like within 30 points. You win one race, that's 25 points. Like the whole thing can change in an instant, and that's what makes it exciting. So it's worth checking out if you find a sports bar that has one, especially like there's 3 US races, Vegas, Texas, 3. I want to say 3, but Miami. Yes. So yeah, there's races that are in like reasonable time zones. I'd say like, yeah, go hang out in a bar with some folks. And again, they want more people to talk F1 with. So most folks of the F1 community are very welcoming to newbies. So just knock on the door, they'll let you in.
I definitely will. Definitely want to check it out too because I have an Apple TV subscription and I've seen
Yeah.
some of it pop up there, but I wasn't knowing what it was regarding. I saw the F1 movie pop up there too. I had the F1 movie saved on my list to see because I was like, the way you talk about it, and I've seen a couple other people mention it on threads that are part of NBA threads. Like, hold on, I gotta go check this out. And I'm like, what is about F1 that has everybody excited? And I was of the same mindset, like they just going around in a circle. Like, what?
Yeah. No, that's NASCAR. I was just like, that's a whole different league and entity, right? So I was like, I learned a lot. There is a NASCAR Netflix doc as well, which I've watched. Which also there's messiness because Michael Jordan owns a team with one guy, but then he races for another team. So I'm just like, so you are rivals with your employee at the same race at the same time? That's messy, right? They want to say that the W is messy, but the men kind of have messy on lock right now. Okay, just saying.
That's a wrap for this episode. I think it's safe to say this episode will be titled "The Purity and the Greed of Sports." that will be this episode right here. And y'all know the vibes though at the BME podcast. If you stay ready, you don't gotta get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.
Bye.